move down.
Yeah. Makes sense. You have one that's come on.
All of you when the meeting starts.
Yeah, no, I mean. I'd be able to hear them. Yeah. Yeah. Look on my back and just like this, you have.
Everywhere.
It's like, I mean, like, not judging. Just asking.
Commissioner, how are you, sir?
Well,
Good to see you.
you're very well.
Well, sorry for the loss of your friend.
Yeah, he's finding everything. Really good. Very century. Never know where we're at.
Thank you. It just takes.
So you, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, you're here.
Alright.
How are you? Good morning.
Playing musical chairs, man.
Better than
Some of your leg just smile.
last time we had a meeting that was stuck in traffic on I-4, you never know. So normally,
What do you?
yeah, I'm on Silver Loop, I-40, got to make some noise. So any given day, you never know. I can see it ahead of time, that normally see the bridge. Then I just keep straight down.
Yeah. Well, it's. I for is definitely. Yeah, actually, GPO tomorrow, we're gonna talk about I4.
How are you today? Young
Are you?
Less.
That's why you said that.
If that gym related felt good.
See us. You're not gonna get to see us.
Got my 50 push-ups in. I can do it again. Shoulders feel a little sore.
I'm in there, it's to save my shoulders, I'm in the 25.
Remember that. If I can do 25 minutes, I'm good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The tote?
I know, right? It's hard to match, so you have to go all blue.
No.
No, it's.
You got one patch there. It's kinda-
Yeah, well, it doesn't really match my elbow. I got it.
Are you doing CFTC? Will you do their stuff? Is it in Holly? Yeah.
It said, well, I've got the directions as pace, so I'm imagining is that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
Are you going?
mapped it. I'm gonna try to be there.
I was gonna go to the last one, and I don't know.
I know, I missed the last one. I couldn't
I
go.
missed the last.
How are you, sir?
I texted Lindsay, I'm like, I was planning to be there, but that's. Something happened.
But I don't
I
remember.
don't remember either.
Yeah. I'm doing good. So how you doing?
Bless like you.
I thought you posted about how affordable all the food at the Masters is.
I'll be, thank you.
The egg salad sandwich and
I'm gonna be there. I'm
and
gonna
it's
pick my
all
mom. It's at Lake Alfred.
very historical, that they keep their
Is
prices
it in like
low,
Kelker?
except for alcohol.
No, it's Lake Alfred, you have.
But it's not-
Good morning. We'll start our Citrus Connection Board meeting this morning, Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. Thank you all for being here. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the March 25th Citrus Connection meeting minutes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve unless there are edits.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that approval?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. We will open up our podium for public comments. If anyone here is from the public that would like to address the board of directors, please feel free to step up now and tell us your name, address, and share. No one's sprinting. All right, we will close the public comment section and then we'll move very early in California time to Dr. Larry Ross for our employee engagement survey. We're so happy you're here. It's always nice to see you.
Being here feels like it was just yesterday when I was there in person, actually.
It does.
And the background over my shoulder will take place in about an hour. So thank you, technology. Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, Tom and his team, let me say good morning. And I'm really happy to be here with a lot of good news to report this morning on the 2026 Employee Engagement Survey. If I can share that slide deck. We'll get that up. While we're waiting for that to show up, and hopefully some of you had a chance to read the report prior to today. But besides a lot of numbers, there's a lot of really valuable information hiding in the data. There we go. And where did it go? Where did it go? Are we seeing the slide deck, I hope?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. I've got a technical glitch with two screens. One showing, let me go backwards. I'm so sorry for this. This happens. Yeah. Let me try this
Yes,
again.
settings.
There we go. As you all know, this is I think the 11th year that we've completed this exercise, this communication and feedback exercise. Certainly a best practices exercise for any organization, but especially a government organization with spending taxpayer dollars and so forth. It's part of a continuous improvement effort that Tom and his team are committed to. We have tried every year to increase the response rate. That's one of our side objectives. But this year we conducted the survey at the end of February, beginning of March for 3 weeks. We had the second highest number of respondents in the history of the survey. So even though we only achieved about a 67% response rate, it was in fact in keeping with past years, but more. So we have a pretty representative sample of the employees across the board. Just a reminder, there's roughly 30 questions. It's a 1 to 5 response scale. We additionally included several years ago gathering some insight on where the team could look to improve through the eyes of the staff, through the employees' eyes, not just top down, but the classic bottom up effort. We only have one classification variable intentionally to try to assure our respondents that they're anonymous. So we're not trying to track down Bob in the mechanic shop because he said something we want to know more about. We have no idea who responded, so it's completely anonymous. We have a couple of communication questions where from past boards raising the issue of communication based on what we learned in the earlier surveys. So we also ask about what do you use and what doesn't work well, so that they again can direct efforts at fixing that. But probably the biggest item is the what we call the indexes or indices, where we summarize groups of questions to get insights into big themes like communication. That yields a dashboard that we'll look at in just a second. Just to reassure you again that with that one classification variable, based on how long they've worked for the organization, we get a pretty representative. You can see not exactly even, but the employees are not evenly distributed. And we still get a small percentage of the respondents who prefer not to answer that question even. So that's fine. We still get the rest of their answers, even if we can't identify their tenure. Not surprisingly, the newer employees, the younger tenured employees, not younger in age, are still although they're well represented, with 20% of the responses, they as a response rate percentage, they're the lowest group, just slightly under 50%. This also is kind of in keeping with past years. We have speculated that that's because they don't quite get the importance of it, or they've never worked with an organization that asks for their opinion on items and then wants to know and actually does something with it. So we'll continue to work on that, hopefully in future years, and get that number up. This is the slide that sort of tells the whole story. There's a lot of data on this slide. It violates every presentation principle that I know of, but it captures a really big picture in one glance. In the left-hand side, of course, are the 5 indexes that we've created and the number of questions in each of those. And then that first green column is the summed and average score of the 5 questions in that index. And then it's been converted to a 100-point scale. The survey is a 1 to 5 response category. So to make it more meaningful, so we're not talking about a 4.27 mean, which maybe doesn't represent anything meaningful in our minds. We convert it to a 100-point scale so we can kind of talk about it like it's grades in school. I was a teacher for a long time, so it came naturally to me. So 91.6 is considered an A. That's excellent. And then to the right of it, you see the previous year's scores. 2023 is not represented because I stepped out, someone else stepped in, and we didn't get comparable results that we could line up neatly. So we just dropped that out, if you'll allow that. But you can see in this one index, and we're going to look at all of them in some detail in just a second, that this is a dramatic increase, a 9% increase. First time in the 11 years that we've done this, that this index has scored an A. So that's, again, kudos to all. And then we go down the other 4 indices: direct supervision, work environment, employee engagement, and the newest, communication. So you can see at a glance what it was from this year's data, how that compared to the previous 4 survey years, whether it increased or decreased, including how that changed over the previous 4 survey years. Then look at the next 2 green shaded columns. Those are the percentage of responses in that specific index that gave a 5, strongly agree. And we have, for purposes of making this more meaningful, we call that the engagement index, if you will. So if an employee strongly agrees with one of the questions, one of the statements we give them, then we consider them to be engaged, highly engaged, or more than just satisfied with their job. The second green column, then, the 90.2% in this case, is the percentage of responses that were a 5 or a 4, and a 4 is somewhat agrees, and that we call satisfaction. So again, we'll look at each of these in some detail, and then there's a comparison to the prior year's data. Again, spoiler alert, everything is up. There's not a single deficiency, if you will, that stands out. as we look at each of the specific indexes, the first one, employee expectations, again, you see that it's a 91.6 or an A, up 9%. When you look at the color, this is a reminder for those board members who've seen this before. If the text is in green, like item 1 is in green, that means that the mean score was a 4.5 out of 5 or higher. So it was an A or better than 4.5. How it compared to the previous year. So it's up 4.8%. There's the engagement and then the satisfaction. So 77% of the employees responding to this survey, 159 responses, are engaged, and 94% of them are satisfied. So, good scores. And then you look down to 5. This particular item, this particular index, has this year has 3 in the green and 2 in the black, and the 2 in the black, as you can see, are within 2/100ths of being green as well. So this is again a very, very strong response from the employees on employee expectations. They know what is expected of them, and they have what they need to fulfill those expectations. You can't ask for a better indicator than this. Last year, just by comparison, there were 4 black items and 1 red item. Red item means that it's below 4.0, or what we would consider to be a C grade in school. So that's where we would focus our resources to try to improve those scores. In this case, we have no red items. And again, we went from 4 black, 1 red to 3 greens and 2 black. So across the board improvement, training, resources, everything like say, still room to take this up a notch, assuming that efforts can be expanded and continued. We should see some similar responses next year. The second index, a direct supervision, where again, we want to know how this individual feels in relation to the person who gives them their feedback. It gives them their direction and communicates the mission. Also, again, an A, a 90.3, first time that it's been a 90.3, that it's been an A, and it's up only 7%, but still a significant increase over the previous year. This item you see has 3 items in green, 1 in black, by way of comparison. Last year, all 4 were in the black, so 3 significantly improved. But maybe more importantly, last year, all 4 were down marginally. And this year, all 4 are up significantly. When you see an item like number 6 or number 9 that has an 11, almost 12% increase in the score from the previous year, that's a pretty dramatic turnaround if you could accomplish that in one item or a few items. But we see this across the board. In some items, we'll see increased even more, double that amount, if you will. So again, they're scoring direct supervision very high, the highest they've scored it in the history of the survey. Work environment, which is not just the physical environment, but work practices, morale, flexibility, even to the point of healthcare benefits, because that's part of the work environment. In this case, we see 4 items out of 5 that are in the black. Last year, 4 items were in the red. So again, across the board, everything improved. And in this particular case, where we had some of our lowest scores, we have, again, significant improvement. If you look at that column to the right of the blue column, you see 13%, 19%, almost 14%. These are, I just can't tell you how significant this is, from an objective, kind of outside looking in. This is really significant, both statistically and practically significant, this kind of improvement. Only an 86.1. The index is still one of our lowest out of the 5, but dramatically up at 13% over the over the prior year and the prior years, I should say. Employee engagement, which the way I describe this one is if we were just going to do a short employee satisfaction survey, short, quick, these would be so we lump them together and call that employee engagement. Sort of that level of involvement and commitment and satisfaction beyond just showing up and getting paid and coming back tomorrow. In this case, we see the highest score. It is traditionally the highest score out of the 5 indexes, but this year it's 5% increase. So when you can get these kind of improvements on something that's already doing well, that again it sort of endorses the management team's efforts to accomplish this kind of movement up. This is the biggest index with 7 items. This year, 6 are in the green, 1 in the black. That's again all great. You see those mean scores: 4.6, 6.8, 6.3, 9.1. Just to talk about item 19 for a minute. This is the one item where we're actually asking the respondent to evaluate themselves, right? What's their commitment to doing quality work? This is the one where it's always the highest scoring. Everywhere I've used this question or in this kind of format, it's always the highest scoring item. Even when it's lower, it's the highest scoring out of all the items that we ask. And it really is kind of a self-evaluation. If they're not giving themselves a high score, then they're probably not going to give anything else a high score. We use it to validate all the rest of the questions. So all the other questions, the responses are up, and not surprisingly, item 19, the responses are up, and it's nearly a perfect 5.0. I mean, when you look at the number of 5s and 4s at 98.8, this sort of suggests that we had 1 or 2 people out of 159 respondents who were not satisfied or did not agree or strongly agree with the statement. So that's really good. Not a lot of room for improvement there, but it also, more importantly, validates all the other responses that if this is up, it makes sense that the others are also up. And also one other comment, question number 21, recommend working at the Citrus Connection to a friend. In this kind of survey, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction surveying, this is proven to be the single most valid question because we're asking the respondent to put it on a third party, right? If I would recommend it, then I really do feel strongly about it. It's one thing for me to be satisfied, but if I'm satisfied enough or engaged enough to recommend, then that's generally a very good indicator that the rest of the data is valid. And again, we see this at a 4.55. This is an A. It's up from the previous year. Some room for improvement, but again, a good score by any assessment. This 5th index is the newest index. We added this in 2022 after I think 2 or 3 consecutive years of getting some indicators in the data that we had a communication challenge. We have a lot of remote workers. We had more than one physical facility. We had just a lot of things going on. So the board suggested that we should drill down into communication, and we should include some specific questions. So we expanded the survey, added these 5 questions, and began to track how we're doing with communication. Not surprisingly, first couple of years, the index was in the 70s, a C score. And there were indicators of where we could improve, but it wasn't clear. So Tom engaged a colleague from Florida Southern College, Dr. Dapko, to do some focus group studies, drill down, trying to find out what we don't know. We can ask questions about what we know to ask, but not knowing. So the focus groups were very productive. Did not change the survey questions, but the management team certainly changed their approach to communication. And here we see the dividends of those efforts, up 14%, a solid 84 score. And we see all items in the black, and we see a couple of items, departments communicate frequently, up 21%. That's I can't tell you how significant an improvement that is in terms of improving communication within an organization. So this also, this question, the score validates this whole effort that we used surveying to get feedback on where we're doing well, where we need to improve. We found an area where we needed to improve. We took efforts to identify what those improvements could or should be. We took steps to improve, and now we see that through the eyes of the employee, we see that the concerns about communication have changed. We'll also see that in another slide in just a minute. So again, across the board improvements, significant 21%, 18% improvements, absolutely great numbers. We include a couple of questions. It's kind of a tiered questioning format about where, from the employee's perspective, where could we improve? Where could we do things better? And we give them a 7 or 8 items here to sort of score. They can score one, and then the survey takes them to that item and asks them some follow-up questions. So if someone says that they think we should work on wellness, they're taken to a survey question. The next question is different than if they said living our mission, for instance. So we can, again, try to get insights that are actionable for the team. What I want to point out here, and then the next slide will clarify, communications and benefits, indicated in red, have traditionally been the 2 areas where the employees feel like we have the greatest opportunity to improve. However, this year, for the first time, while they are still number 1 and number 2, they are down. So they're not getting as many responses as they have in the past. And 2 other items are trending up. So again, giving management sort of that weather forecast of, what direction should we be heading for? What should we be preparing for? That's evident in this table. Excuse me. Where we see the year-over-year comparisons, and just to take communication on the top, where it began to emerge as an area for improvement in 2022, 2024, and last year, it was a significant area for improvement from the employee's perspective. This year, it's still important, but it's down to 17%. So they have done, Tom and his team have done a great job of working on this communication, not done, but done a great job. Benefits, likewise, escalated post-COVID to the point where last year it was 26% of the respondents thought it was a priority. This year it's down slightly to 22. So again, that's good that they're still important, but they're declining. But I direct your attention to recognition and training, which have gone from kind of single digits up to strong double digits. So the employees are telling us we want a better job of recognizing employee contributions, and we want more training. That's a wonderful indicator that a priority for them is more training. They want to be able to do more, do better, do different things, and that requires training and training resources. So from a strategic planning standpoint, this slide probably tells the group where resources need to be shifting and efforts and strategies shifting. Having said all that rather quickly and without questions, you can just see at a glance, everything's better. The only bad news I can give you is that means next year it's really hard to sustain an everything's better survey response. Good wishes to the team, but when everything's up, usually what comes next is some down. So watch for that. Communication, most importantly, is up, all improved. Work environment is up, all improved. nothing declined. So I don't have any super insights to offer as a objective third party. Passion for the job is evident. I mean, they almost gave themselves 159 employees almost unanimously gave themselves a 5. Strongly agree. So that's a great indicator. And again, as I mentioned, it kind of validates all the other increases across the data. The communications and benefits are still important, but we've got those 2 recognition and training areas that are growing in importance. So get ahead of the curve there, kind of thing. I highly recommend that you continue to put resources behind this effort, and whatever that looks like, and however you improve it or change it, you can see clearly in the data. You can see that it's doing its job. You're asking, they're telling you, management's doing something about it. They're telling you that it's working. So congratulations and kudos to all the folks at the Citrus Connection for what you've attempted and accomplished. And with that, I'll answer any questions that anybody might have about all of this.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ross. Every year we learn a lot, and one of the exciting things in serving in this role for the last 7 years, not as chair, but as a member of the board, is watching those increases. And I want to just say to our new commissioner, we have another commissioner who's not here right now, but for the record, this looks really, really good, and it almost seems too good to be true. But we've had red over the years. There have been a lot of areas of focus that the team has been directed by this board, with other members on it, but to really tackle communications and work with Dr. Ross. I think some of the improvements could be the new building and having people back on site, and seeing one another helps communication. Even if our communication tactics don't change as much, sometimes when you're present with one another, it improves a lot. But it's I like looking at the historical perspective that you provide too on that cover sheet, which is page 2 in our packet, to really look at all those numbers and see the increases. I'm really excited, before you even said the training number at the end of feedback from staff. That is very encouraging to me, just as someone who did training activities for staffs, early in my career. That looks like it's a wonderful opportunity to listen and ask, even critically from our management team, what does that look like? Have staff, supply some answers of what exactly are we talking about? LinkedIn? Are we talking about webinars? Are we talking about hands-on? What are we talking about as far as training initiatives? Is it beyond onboarding? Obviously, what are the new things you want to learn? I think that builds a culture of really positive employment and opportunity. So I'll open it up for questions from other members of the board. Commissioner Lon?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to concur with exactly pretty much everything you said. I think you nailed it. I have a few questions. First of all, congratulations. I don't think it's gonna be really hard to beat next year and stuff. It's still with the 66 response, that's not really so much a concern, because I consider what's a concern, but that's been making improvements. My real question is, when I'm looking at it and going through it, is the skipped questions. The amount of people that participated was approximately 66.7%, or 66.3, or 47.7 not engaging. But then we had several skipped questions, and some of those are like in the 4s and the 5s. And is that would be what you may consider like a tenure effect? Like a new employee wants to get a little more comfortable, a little more tenure in their job. Did you see that switching that or changing that?
Yeah. If I can comment, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. There is because the newer employees tend to not respond at a greater rate than the more senior employees. There is a little bias built into this data. So this does represent kind of the longer term employee view slightly more than it does the newer employee. And again, we've speculated on why that is, that they don't get it. They haven't seen the fruits of their efforts. They don't trust whatever. We do think, commenting on the number of skips we had, which is down slightly, but still higher than we would like to see. skipped on that classification data, that there may still be some lingering trust issues within the organization. Not fatal kind of trust issues. And we asked them a question about trust, and the score is fairly high. But for those 10 folks or so that said they didn't want to identify how long they've worked for the organization, and they could all be newer employees. They could all be, less than 1 year employees, which would dramatically push up that. We don't know. We just know that they chose to not identify themselves. But even a bit of bias we have kind of inherent in this, when you have a category that's lower in response than the others, the numbers are so significantly improved that even if there was a 5 or 7% error in the data, it's still significant, still meaningful.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments for Dr. Ross?
I
Yes,
can-
Commissioner
thank
Santiago.
you. Dr. Ross, it's good to see you. And I like the background that you have. Hopefully you'll get to enjoy the sunrise. I concur with you, Madam Chair. This is outstanding report, and sustainability is going to be the question moving forward. But in the last couple of years, Tom, just seeing how your executive board or your executive team have come together to improve the environment here has been remarkable. And this is a testament to what has happened or has occurred, especially within the last couple of years. So kudos to you and kudos to your whole team. I think it's wonderful. One of the things that I observed, and it goes along with what you had just said with the absentees or the skipped, I can see the number 1, 2. I mean, I think that's pretty normal when you do kind of a survey. But when we go to the workforce priority, I mean, there's a huge jump. It goes into like 123 and then 139, 140, 154. So do you have any perspective on this, and probably some advice on how to proceed with this area so that we can reduce those absentees? It could be that they're just not comfortable. It could be, I think this is the first time we've done this part am I correct with this particular job?
You mean the,
Details, priorities, workforce priorities?
no,
No.
we've done that.
We've done it before.
Done before.
So then that even surprises me more that we've done it before. So what do you think is the issue or issues here that do not allow these people to answer these questions, or the employees to answer the questions?
If I can offer, it's very common to have people not respond to surveys. Sometimes they just don't want to be bothered. The biggest one is usually mistrust. They're just using this to try to identify, problem people, and so we've taken measures to try to minimize that. We have used an incentive the last couple of years, relatively small incentive, but just something to sort of give them a reason to share 15 minutes of their time. We could potentially increase that. I've had clients who, rather than do small incentives along the way, they have a big incentive that they draw from the respondents once. So instead of $10 gift cards to Publix, they have a $100 gift card that is drawn once at the end of the survey. The third thing is procrastination. Well-intentioned employees who might have responded, put it on the back burner, and I'm going to get to it, and then we cut it off, and they don't get that chance. Last year, we kept the survey open for almost 6 weeks to get the responses that but at some point, the responses are stale, if you will. They're just, you're almost, you don't want to have to beg your employees to answer an employee engagement survey. So this year we had a pretty good response rate early on. We kept it open a week longer than we intended, got a few more responses, got the rate up a little bit. We probably could have fished it for another week or two and gotten, 5 or 6, maybe gotten the percentage up to 72, 74%. But at no particular benefit to the data. What you can do, what some organizations do is conduct a separate approach at a different time where they don't ask everybody to respond. They conduct a sample and they try to sort of validate the sample against the. This is essentially a census when we give it to everyone, and so we can statistically we can estimate non-response bias from a sample. We can't really do that from a census. So that's a little more sophisticated. Might be a little more effort than you want to go into. But the reasons you're both, everybody there is familiar with the Joe Tedder, the tax collector. We've done this effort at his organization for 20 years. He gets a very high response rate, 95% or so, but they literally put people in a room and say, answer the survey. You know, they make it an expectation of the job, kind of like punching in and punching out, that they will complete the survey. And in conversations with the tax collector, we pat ourselves on the back for that. It's great. We get a night. No one gets those kind of response rates except the tax collector. But at the same time, there's a question of whether they're, if they're being sort of required to respond, are their responses as genuine, as valid as if they were just voluntarily? And there's, again, except for doing the secondary research to validate that, there's no way to really know that. So anytime we get over 50%, we're pretty happy with the response rate. We would like to see, I think that the challenge here has been, why can't we get it up? Like the numbers, like the statistics have gone up year over year. Why can't we get the response rate to go up slightly year over year? That's a challenge. I don't have the exact answer other than incentivize, leave the survey open longer, or require participation.
The Madam Chair, would be correct to say that maybe this is a focus area that we would like to
Sure.
find out. I don't know if we can ever find out, but at least see how we can reduce the skipped
Yeah.
areas in this area, in this part, because they are pretty high, 127, 139, 140, and 134. So that would be my recommendation in this area.
Well, and I think how we speak about it as managers, directors, and leaders is, we want to hear back from everyone, and hopefully if we can reflect back the changes that have been made as results of these over the years, saying, 5 years ago, this was one of our data points, and this is the feedback we received, but as a board and as a leadership team, this is how we corrected or improved, maybe showing the fruits of the labor of the team, of we listen, we care, it's very important to us, and this isn't sitting on a shelf. Like I know since I've been on the board, we've used this tool to navigate and improve and have discussions from a board perspective, a senior leadership team perspective, and then to department perspectives, to say we use this as an active tool. It's not something that sits on a shelf, that it's not accessed, and we're not like, yeah, whatever they say. Like, I think we take it genuinely to heart. And I think that comes from Tom and his team's leadership, to even being transparent and showing us, like I mentioned before, this is the first time we've had all green. It's very exciting. It's going to be hard to maintain, but we do take this really seriously. And for the 156 that can, didn't drop off, or the 150 that didn't drop off and skip questions, we're only as good as what our people tell us.
Yep.
Just like
Absolutely.
being in elected office, we're only as good as what the constituents share with us. We're not mind readers. We can't, make things up. We really need to hear feedback. And so that communication piece is two-way also. Like we can't help if we don't know. And so however we can frame that, I think from a leadership standpoint, is really, really important. And that we take it seriously. I don't know if we do quick fast facts about this on your internal employee, information pages or something like that internally, of yay us on all the green, and that's everyone. That's not just yay the directors, that's yay staff participation, all those different things. So maybe it's a framing as well, but I agree completely.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
But-
Commissioner Coney.
Yeah, I have just a question. The way the survey is set up, and I'm taking this online electronic.
Yes, sir.
As employees go through it, and I know we've talked about skips, you know, some surveys, you can't move forward unless you
Right.
answer questions.
It's required.
Not may have a no comment. But if you can go through without answering a question, then just by human nature, if someone thinks it's a tough question, they may skip over it and then forget to come back.
Mhm.
And then you also have maybe even some senior employees that in their mind, no matter what I say, it's not gonna matter.
Mhm.
And then you have younger employees who think, well, they still have their head down because they're trying to learn their job and they have no idea about senior management, so they may skip that particular area. So if you could set it up maybe where, and again, I'm not sure how it is, but if they can't move to the next question to at least they click on no comment, then that may force some cut down on the skip
Yeah.
questions.
Great.
Yes.
Well, good
That is,
discussion.
that is,
Dr. Ross?
that's exactly what you would do. You would make it's just a flipping a switch in the survey software that requires a response. But if that's done, you have to be sure to give them a no opinion kind of response category so that they don't just disengage from the survey. If they feel like their arms being twisted too much, they'll just quit. So as long as they have to answer to proceed, but they can give an answer that is non-committal, at least you know they are in the survey. They're staying all the way, hopefully. So good observation though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, sir, for getting up so early. We appreciate it and all your hard work and diligence in
pleasure.
doing this. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I'm gonna call an audible and move item number 5 above item number 4 of finance, and we're gonna go ahead and do that first, just so we have need to go to work. And I'm sure you loved hearing about our engagement survey, but yeah, it is. It's very, I mean, it's good work. It's good work. So Tom, is that good with you? Can
Yes,
you go to that item?
absolutely, yes, yeah, the gears of justice wait for no one, so.
That's right.
Or so I've been told. So I'm excited today, and I want to thank Blair Allen, the public defender, for joining us today. We wanted to bring the board to the board's attention a couple of partnerships, one that is currently ongoing in a pilot phase, and another that we will be starting next week with the Public Defender's Office. And so we can go to the next slide, Cleo.
And this is page 16 in
Sorry,
your
page
packets
16,
on your
yes.
screens. If you want to pull it up, it's 16. And then we'll circle back to Rhonda after.
No, this is fine. I'll just say next slide if that works for you. And so our goal with the Public Defender's Office is ultimately to reduce individuals who are missing their court dates because they do not have reliable transportation. And so when an individual misses their court date, there's bench warrants that can be issued. There's costs associated with that, reincarceration, time at a facility, rescheduling of the court, and all those are costs to the taxpayer. And we know through talking with the Public Defender's Office that this occurs for all of the successes in Polk County, the Winter Haven urbanized area, Lakeland Winter Haven urbanized area is the 7th poorest suburban area in the United States. 15.6% of our population's at or below the poverty line. And so transportation can be a challenge. And so what we would like to propose with, or what we are going to be doing with the Public Defender's Office is that when Blair Allen and her team identify a client that they have that does not have reliable transportation to get to court, Khalil, if we can advance a few, I'll come back to the sheriff's office if you can go again. Back one, thank you. Her and her team will be able to give this custom flyer to their clients once they've identified that getting to court is a problem. And on the bottom, there will be 2 of the transit passes that you see there. They'll be perforated, easy for the client to be able to use a QR code and our website so they can find out how the routes operate and the links that are there. And they'll be able to get to and from their court dates. And if there's a couple of court dates, she would and her team would be able to give out a few of these. ultimately, if the individual's transit dependent, which they may be, the beauty of this is that she will help us identify those individuals, and then we can move them to transportation disadvantaged long-term, get them on the bus pass program and get them a monthly bus pass, which we can partner with the state on providing at no cost to the client so that they can meet all of their other mobility needs as well. So this is a really holistic approach. The slide before is a pilot that we've been running with the sheriff's office. So when individuals are released in the Bartow area, they're given, this is a mock-up of a bus pass. And so when they're let out of the facility, they're given a bus pass so they can get where they need to go to be reunited with family and friends. So this is really a holistic approach towards partnering with the criminal justice system and the public defender's office to provide transportation to reduce the costs associated with recidivism or missing those court dates. And I want to thank Blair for being open to the concept. And she's here today to answer any questions that you all have.
Ms. Allen, do you want to share anything just in general about the process of, or maybe how this issue can impact clients if they're not able to get transport back to the courts?
Sure. Madam Chair, and thank you all for having me here today. I feel like I'm so disrespectful. Thank you, I really appreciate it. We last year alone had over 27,000 clients here in Polk County at the Office of the Public Defender. As you can imagine, if someone is at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines and they're charged with crime, they could qualify for the services of the Office of the Public Defender. They're considered indigent. They're struggling, right? They're struggling with the costs associated with everything in our life. And so oftentimes over my 19 years with the Public Defender's Office, trial attorney, we get phone calls from clients who are saying, I can't get to court this morning. My ride didn't show up. I thought I was gonna have a ride and I don't. A number of our clients, particularly in our county court division, are charged with driving while license suspended or revoked. They can't drive, right? So they are dependent upon others for transportation or our bus system. But if our clients are struggling that much, they can't even afford the bus. And so for someone to miss court, that is not an intentional failure to appear in my book. We can argue to the court, judge, the ride didn't show up, they couldn't get to court here in Bartow today, but sometimes the court does go ahead and issue that bench warrant. So now you have this person who's going to be reincarcerated, going back to jail. They may lose their job as a result of incarceration. Now they can't pay their rent because they don't have their job. Their court date gets reset. You as a taxpayer will be paying for this incarceration for that person for the next 30 to 45 days until their case comes back. If you're a crime victim, that case is going to get bumped. Now you don't have your day in court because the person may be incarcerated, may not be ready for trial. That person has a family. Now you have kids who may be unhoused as a result. So it's a trickle-down effect. And so as a member of this community, if we have a solution that is fiscally responsible to solve that problem, to be able to get that person to court and take away some of the obstacles that are in that person's way from getting to court, we should do that. And I really appreciate Mr. Phillips and this board considering that opportunity and considering that partnership. We do have a social worker now that works with our office. And so she would be working with our attorneys to identify which of those clients could utilize this program. And so I'm really excited about it. And I really, really appreciate that.
We're so glad you're here. When Tom and I were talking about this, just from my history at Polk Vision, you know, one of the things that we talked about over the years is that some families are one twisted ankle away from disparity and further move into poverty. So you have someone that doesn't have health care, they're driving car, but they literally twist their ankle, have a sprained ankle and can't drive anywhere. And the same ripple effect happens, just sort of similar. And that's not a case that has to do with judicial system, but those are individual cases that when you live in an area like where we live, that's one of the poorest, those things happen. And it's just this, it's a boulder coming down a mountain toward these individuals and their families. Because, and if we can head that off at the pass and, you know, step in to sort of provide an opportunity for people to make those court dates. And for people that don't have transportation issues, you might think, not everybody, but you might think, I don't understand. I don't know what the problem is. Why can't you just, Polk County's 2,200 square miles. And we are historically an agriculture community with big swaths of land in between us. So it's hard to navigate on a good day of getting from the northeast sector down to Bartow on time,
Or Lakeland.
or Lakeland, from or vice versa, from, north of the Green Swamp down to Bartow. Like it's just it's something that we felt like when Tom brought this up to me as the chair, like, this is something that could really assist. So I'm so happy you're here today to share about it too, because it's not a fair quote freebie. It's something to really help our community. Yeah, and really develop, giving people the opportunity to get to where they need to get to handle their business and to not create other circumstances because of that one piece of the puzzle. Other members of the board, any questions, or Commissioner Santiago?
I think it's a great program, one that's very much needed. Helps these people start again when you first start, and you're right. They don't have their ride come in and they miss their appointments and so forth. I mean, it's just downhill from there for many of them. When is this supposed to start now?
We can start as soon as next week. The flyers, the flyer that's here, as soon as the public defender's office approves it, we can start the program. Paul can train the employee, the bus operators, and we can be up and running. We track this data on a monthly basis as we would any other effectively universal access program. So we'll be able to see how well it's being utilized. Our partnership with the sheriff's office in the last 6 months has yielded 5 rides. Now that's a different program, but we'll be able to track that. And then working with her office and the social worker, we can also look at the conversion rate to transportation disadvantaged and getting them that monthly bus pass if they need it. So we'll track that data as well.
And this is a pilot, so how long would the pilot run?
Well, at least a year, I would say.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, and like midway, we'll look at some metrics to see how we're doing.
Yes, we'll bring metrics to we'll bring back metrics every other month so we can see.
I think it's a great program.
Commissioner Lon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Allen, for coming here. It's always great to see you. I know your dedication and hard work does not go unrecognized. I think this is a wonderful program. Commissioner Santiago pretty much said exactly what I did. The KPIs, the measurable response. Glad to hear that there'll be a social worker engaged with these people so they can be identified. Is there any other way that we may be able to help spread that message other than just as a social worker? But some of them may not necessarily be declared indigent, but still need that piece to get that. Sometimes you're maybe not indigent, but you're temporarily.
We get appointed to a large number of clients at first appearance, even for people's first court appearance. So initially, we go out and interview those people within 72 hours of their arrest. So our interviewing staff is also going to be trained on this, and we'll be able to identify those people and then report back to our administrative team and the social worker for us to be able to figure out if those clients would potentially be good victims for them as well.
That's excellent. It seems like the benefit far outweighs the cost. So
Absolutely.
thank you
Well,
very
and the
much.
cost gets caught on the front end versus.
Yes.
So that I can-
And we will still track passenger miles, passenger boardings, and
Right.
revenue miles. So although the cost of ultimately the cost of the ride would not have occurred because these people can't afford the ride, but we will still receive federal and state pennies because we're paid on passenger boardings, passenger miles, and revenue miles. So we'll still count this as ridership. So in a way, the fare isn't really even a loss leader, and we're still going to get federal and state credit for providing these. And then if we move them to the TD Bus Pass program, we'll bill the state.
So,
Commissioner Coney.
yeah, good stuff.
I like it because it helps build a change in habit, a good habit. I remember when you gave me my orientation, you talked about the number of people that use Citrus Connection or the percentage that use Citrus Connection. just to get to work. If they didn't have that, there's no way. And some of these court cases, there may be a probation involved, but that probation is contingent on getting the job and getting to work. So if you don't have that, then they can find themselves back in jail. So just by them having the opportunity to get to court, and then if they get a positive outcome from the court, maybe it's probation, and then, but that probation is contingent on them working and consistently getting them work. Then we got them to the court, and now we're giving them opportunity, a way to get to work. So, we have win-win all the way around here.
Absolutely. Yep. Anything else you want to add?
I just appreciate this so much. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, we appreciate you. All right, this is
Just informational.
informational,
Yep.
not an approval item. I was looking at my agenda. Okay. Well, good. Then we'll bounce back up to item number 4 with finance with our CFO, Rhonda Carter, and that would be back on page 5.
Yes. Due to the timing of the audit from the last period, next month we will present the March year-to-date financials. Financials for the month for Lakeland Area Mass Transit for January 31st, 2026. Total revenue is 9 million or 55% of the annual budget. Fare box revenue is 106,000 or 31% of the annual budget. And FTA operating grants are 753,000 or 18% of the annual budget. Total expenses are 6 million or 36% of the annual budget. Salaries and benefits are 4 million or 35% of the annual budget. And fuel and lubricant expenses are 132,000 or 17% of the annual budget. Based on the actual year-to-date budget to actual January 31st, 2026, the LAMPTED Lakeland Area Mass Transit budget has a favorable variance of 3 million. Excuse me. Moving on to Polk County Transit Services.
Did anybody have questions on
Any questions?
Lakeland
Sorry.
Area Mass Transit? Okay, financials. Okay, but then we're gonna move on to page 9.
The Polk County Transit Services monthly financial statements for January 31st, 2026. Operating revenues are 6.9 million or 59% of the annual budget. Fare box revenues 19,000 or 30% of the annual budget. And FTA grants received to date are 1.5 million or 39% of the annual budget. Operating expenses consist of labor costs, operating expenses, and contract expenses. Total expenses for the period are 3.7 million or 33% of the annual budget. Salaries and wages total 1.8 million or 29% of the annual budget. Actual revenues exceeds expenses by $3 billion. Any questions? No.
Questions on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll move to page.
I'm sorry, I have allergies, so.
Oh, you're good.
Just a little rest.
We'll move to page 12, and that'll be transportation disadvantage monthly financials.
Transportation disadvantage monthly financial statements for January 31st, 2026. Transportation disadvantage program is on a different fiscal year than Lakeland Area Mass Transit and Polk County Transit Services. The fiscal years from July 1st through June 30th. Funding is comprised of 90% from the state and 10% from Polk County. Total revenues are 771,000 with 53% of annual budget or 53% of the annual budget. And expenses are 729,000 with 50% of the annual budget. Actual revenues exceeds expenses by $42,385. Any questions on transportation disadvantage?
Any questions on TD? All right, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. Now we'll move to Nicole McCleary, Strategic Planning and Innovation with the Tiger Town Express update, which we're very excited to hear about. Thank you to all the operators and all the team that ran this for us on the
Oh.
ground
And all the updates that we got.
and all the updates, which we love.
Time very close.
We do love it. I'm not being sarcastic, but we actually love it.
Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, board members. So today we come to you with the Tiger County Express recap. We do this to really help you guys understand how Tiger Town Express is moving and growing and really identifying some things that we need to change. Today I'm here with Paul Sims, our Director of Operations, and he is going to assist us. Good morning, Chair. Morning, Chair. Board. So first thing I wanted to say was thanks to our partners, right? We can't do this without the city of Lakeland, FDOT District 1, who gave us the grant. So Commissioner, you might not know, we've been running this for 3 years. The first year, we did just 6 games as pilot. We then applied for a grant from FDOT to see if we could run for the full season. And they gave us a 3-year grant to run the program. So we are in year 2 of that 3-year grant. Then also Lakeland Police. The police department is really helpful for us. They give us right-of-way passage at lights, things like that to help the traffic move through. Well, not really the traffic, us, to help us move
Yeah.
through, right? Kind of giving us lane priority. And Detroit Tigers, who have been great to work with, they allow us to market this service at the games. They allow us to set up a booth at the games to really let people know about the Tiger Town Express and Citrus Connection.
Okay, so I first want to acknowledge the team that goes above and beyond to support Citrus Connection and Tiger Town. Here representing the team is Richard Crocker. We were unable to bring everybody in. That's taken away too much service from the group. But they were all meticulous, they were all excited, and they showed the greatest customer service skills. And we'll see that later in our survey. So our service for the Tiger Town Express is at the Joker Merchant Stadium. We are all aware of the different routes. We have 4 routes. One from Lakeside Village, we have a northeast, north, and okay. And then we have the northeast route, we have the Lakeside Village route, we have the south route, and the north route. Okay, one of the things that we I see this thing stood up. It was what we're looking at in terms of the different teams that were playing this season. And we were excited when we saw the New York Yankees, and we made bets that that was going to be one of the biggest games of the season, but we're all disappointed. So this is really a schedule of all the different games that were played throughout the season. Now, this is significant. We all look at the numbers here. Where we started in 2024 to where we are today. This is like climbing up to the mountaintop. And I'm really proud of where we are. We started off to where we are now. We've increased from the inception 962%.
Great.
Over last year, we have 101%. So pretty much this year we doubled plus compared to what we did in 2025, which as a result of the great work that our team put in. Here we have our games, different games, and the highest ridership. This is what I was hoping to see the Yankees up top, but unfortunately it's the Red Sox. Then we had the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Pittsburgh Pirates for the second one, customers. Now, our average customer ridership was 175. If we look at the games, week games, we had 10 games, it was 158.4. The even games was 267. And our weekend daytime games, we had 193.5. And that was really a testament to our team. I really made people who showed up. And one of the things that we had in terms of the team was they are all fanatics for baseball.
That's
So
awesome.
it wasn't like it was a job for them. It was like, yeah, I want to come Sunday still. I'm coming for the night game. So that really helped us a lot in terms of keeping services on the road and having the Tarleton Express covered.
Just one thing about this slide, the 267, we only had one night game this year. Usually we have at least two, so.
Thank you. I was gonna ask that. Thanks.
Okay, so this is where we have our top ridership on the different routes that we had. So our south route was 951, north 762, northeast 666. And
Y'all should have done.
I just taking one away.
Oh, yeah. Fine.
But you go down by one.
And one is take away.
Yeah.
And so Lakeside Village was our lowest ridership. Looking at some ways of improving that for the next season.
What do we, can I ask really quick? Sorry. The south route, what is that?
That's the one that comes to Park, Rose Street Park.
Rose Street Park, right. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
What's the northeast?
Dick's.
That
very
one
good.
comes from around Circumloop.
Circumloop, right in front of.
The north one comes from Dix.
Okay, thank y'all. Sorry.
No problem.
The Hampton Inn and the Baymont, I think.
Yeah, Daisy.
We're trying to skim over that
That's our
number.
neighborhood.
I was trying to distract. Yes, Commissioner
That's not like
Lalonde.
there.
And this, may I ask a quick question on this slide?
Yeah,
On the Lakeside Village, is that a dip over last year or is it still an increase? I know that we had some opportunities with Lakeside Village itself.
I'll have to look.
I'm just looking at the numbers.
I think it's probably a little bit of a dip because we had some issues with our stock there.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely look that up and let you know.
Thank you.
So
Chair.
we did the customer experience surveys again this year, and with that, we have a QR code on the bus that we asked all our customers, please take some time and fill this out so that we can improve the service for you. This is what we heard this year. So when we look at where our customers come from, they really come from all over. We have a lot here in the North Midwest, I guess, Michigan, you know, yes, those snowbirds, right? And then California, Texas, as well as South Carolina. When we asked about the experience of the service and how they liked the service, 95.6% of customers were very satisfied or satisfied with the service that we're providing. We have 4% that are unsatisfied. And when we get to the comments, I think we can see where it's coming from. We asked them about how likely they were to use the service again. 96.2% said that they would use the service again. So we know that we're providing a service that's very useful to people, especially with Lakeland Hills Boulevard, having the construction and getting through and finding parking. They like the fact that they can easily take Tarleton Express, know it's coming regularly, get to the game and get out. Would you recommend the service to others? 95% of the customers said yes, they would recommend the service. So what are the themes of the feedback that we heard? So this was the open-ended. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? We got really positive responses about our operators. And as you heard before, they are really an integral part of making Tarleton successful. They really talk to the customers, they provide any information. We know a lot of customers are coming from out of town. Our operators are getting lots of questions about what can we do in Lakeland? Where can we go after the game? Things like that. And they're being helpful with answering those questions. Communication and outreach, we heard they want more promotion, right? And then they want signage improved. So bigger signs, more promotion, really let people know, hey, the stop is here. Hey, this is happening every year. you know, every game, this is where you need to be. Operational suggestions, they said adding more buses. We did add a lot of buses this year. I believe we had up to 16 at one point, right?
Wow.
So we did add more buses so that it was more frequent. But buses taste money, so we'll work on that.
16's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we added a lot of
We
buses.
can only do that on weekend. when
Right.
We don't have.
Right.
Extra, extra, yes. So key phrases, it's awesome. They want to drop off closer to the park. So this is something that I think that 4%, because we have a lot of older customers that take Tiger Town.
Mhm.
And where the stop is, they do have to still walk into the stadium.
Mhm.
Our buses cannot go into the stadium
Right.
just because of the parking and the congestion in there. So that's something that we might have to work with Tiger Town a little bit more to figure out on their end, how they can get those customers from our stop into the stadium. More advertising, get the word out. So people are excited about it, and I think this is something that, yes, we will do more advertising, but it's also gonna be a word of mouth thing. Where they're like, hey, I took the Tiger Town Express, it was great, you guys should take it next time you're here. Right? And then our drivers, again, talking about our drivers, how great and friendly and informative they are. So some other things that we heard was it was super convenient, no improvements needed. I personally love that. So signs at the stops at the hotel. So this is something, Commissioner Lalonde, Lakeside Village, right? We had to move our signage from our bus stop to the hotels. So, just making sure that they're very prominent. We had a giveaway, so they enjoyed that, and I think that will help increase the ridership. And then they talked about having someone at the Lake Harbor, and this is where they get dropped
Cute.
off. Working as an organizer after the games to make sure people are getting on the right route to get out. So we talked about better signage and closer drop off. And this one, I said that we did not pick up a residence in, but we were picking up there, so not quite sure what happened there. Right, so that is really the wrap up for Tiger Town Express for 2026. We look forward to 2027. I'll take any questions that you have, but we will continue to improve the service that we're providing.
That's awesome. We, really quick, just history, really quick. Tom and I had a meeting with the city manager about something else.
Mhm.
3 years ago. What were we talking to them about?
The bus benches.
Bus benches. So we were talking to the city manager about bus benches, and Tom has been I'm gonna give Tom kudos too, and the team has been wanting to do something because he's a Chicago guy. He wanted a Cub thing, which we can't do, but anyway, he's talked since I've known him. He's like, there has to be a way where we can, have an express and how we can have people use parking rides to go to even before the torn up Lakeland Hills Boulevard. So it was a very serendipitous conversation because while we were conversing with city staff about benches, like, by the way, what do you think about this? Because Lakeland Hills is going to be torn up, for 3 years. And it was really the first time that the city staff was like, yeah, let's try it. Like Tom and I both walked out and we're like, just happened. Like, yay. I mean, we were like, yay, how are we going to do this? So kudos to the team, because when we piloted it, and the team piloted those first 6 games, it really gave us, this is the best thing about Citrus Connection, where we do the crawl, walk, run methodology, like how we had this squeeze every day and then we ratcheted that back. And our team is really, really good at being nimble. And taking pilot programs and then really grow it, as you can tell, like growing them exponentially this year with all the ridership. I think the communications will continue. I do think, and one of the other things that we did the first year is we had a ride along. I'm like, let's do a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to go, but Tom and I talked about, I'm like, I highly recommend putting an LPD officer on a bus. And so they did that, and they did a walkthrough before those 6 games, a legitimate, not just on paper, but a get on the bus, what roads are we going to use? Where are we going to drop off? That drop off over by Lake Parker has always been, I mean, that's just one of the things, because older people do go to the games, and especially in the afternoon. So we, if I know there's different leadership at with the Tigers, that conversation, maybe we can do like before summer. Be like, hey, can we drag a bus out here and just look? Cause I keep envisioning even like a Disney-esque type idea where coming off Lakeland Hills, if both of those are going into the stadium, have cars go up one in the stadium, it's like double queuing a car line, and then on the others, on that north exit, I wonder if, they'll probably tell me no, but we can turn there and take a bus up there to the gate, on the Lakeland Hills side. I'm just not sure how that would work, but that's just an idea that as you were talking, I'm like, there has to be a way, I know we've talked about it before, or an internal golf cart structure inside the park, something like that. But that's y'all's work. Sorry, I don't mean to get into operations. I know I'm just an elected official and I'm not allowed to talk about operations, but those are my ideas.
Yeah. You can help.
Commissioner Santiago.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations to all of you. This is awesome. I really enjoyed, Tom, the updates and keeping us updated. And every time I read one of those updates, I went, yay, it's working. We're in our third year of doing this. So I know that we talked, or I brought it up every time about doing something when I saw the Northeast, that's why I said, where's this Northeast? But doing something that would capture the people that go to the games in the Northeast, people even from Point Siena that come all the way down, which is a long ride. So again, if we can look for next year, maybe a pilot or something like that to see if we can have a stop in probably the right there, Winter Haven, advertise it so people from the Northeast can come to Winter Haven and therefore come to the game. I would like to see how that operates. And I think after 3 years under our belt of success, I think it's time that we start looking at servicing the rest of the county in this area. My thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Cooney, thank you.
That corridor is my main route home, so
It's a
I'm
mess.
familiar with that, but when we talk about drop off points in the Lake Parker area, I think we have to also understand that we've been under construction on that road the last 2 seasons. So the access just to get into the main entrance has been blocked, and between the city and LPD, they came up with alternate routes to get around the lakes to minimize the traffic in that main corridor. So if we are lucky next season, I think the construction should be done. Maybe so that way you may be able to go into that main entrance, just come around that circle, drop people off and then come out. It may help with that.
And I think ultimately, if we can't get closer because of logistics or the way that they're generating parking revenue around the park, the user feedback about a Citrus Connection kind of concierge service once you get off the vehicle, a tent. We wouldn't want to give them a full bottle of water, but a half bottle of water because they're going to lose it at security. Just that white glove service of someone greeting, I think might
Helpful.
alleviate it a little bit. So if that's the dial we're looking at turning, I think that dial and then the Lakeside Village dial are the two that we need to continue to work on. And then to Commissioner Santiago's point, finding something on the other side of the county so we can include them, because at the end of the day, I believe it's 90% of the bed tax for the next 20 years continues to go to the stadium renovation. So we want to make sure that we include that. And they had boardwalk and baseball for decades. So we know they're baseball fans. And when you said Point Siena, I always run into Keith Latham, the unofficial mayor of Point Siena.
Yeah,
And he's a season ticket holder, and he drives all the way from Point Siena.
And even if you had senior citizens, maybe a squeeze type shuttle from the drop off to get them to the front, if that would be possible.
That would be considered charter service for us. However, again, I think there are partnerships that we can.
I think there's
look
a
at.
partnership. Yeah. Paul, Nicole, any addendums?
No, I say thank you. We will definitely look at Winter Haven, adding a route for Winter Haven for next season.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, Yeah, I think Bosner is good too. I mean, Bosner would be, I mean, Because you
If you have more
have
people coming into Winter Haven, they would have people going to Boston. To catch that, so.
I mean, but if you're staying north of I-4, you could just go there and park for free and then,
You staying here, that part of your husband.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, they have that too, yeah. Okay, those are all really exciting things, and now we're gonna get more exciting. Because we're gonna talk HR with Tony Kirk,
Yes,
and policies that's what we do, so.
yeah, that is truly what we do. And, you know, this is probably most appropriate for this particular board meeting, considering the fact that we just had some conversation regarding the employee engagement survey and things of that nature. One of the things that I will say is that as I begin to, with my presentation, is that I'm almost a year into my tenure here. And during that short period of time, one of the things that I initially started to do is to examine the policy for this particular agency. We probably have about 257 or so employees, give or take, an employee here or there that misbehaves, and we send them on down the road, which is again one of the reasons for some of these policies. But one of the things that I noticed is there's a lot of gaps, unfortunately, in some of the things that we do. And we're currently looking to revamp our entire handbook, our employee handbook, and just make it a little bit more robust. There are things in there that are still very applicable, but these particular policies that I'm bringing forward today are policies that have jumped up as a point of need for us over the last 8 to 9 months that I've been here. And so with that, and I will say that these are all recommended approval items. And so I'll just jump right into it. The first one is a leave of absence policy. The purpose of this agenda item is to request board approval for a formal unpaid medical and personal leave of absence policy for the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District doing business as a Citrus Connection. The policy establishes clear guidelines for employee leave when paid leave and all legally protected leave has been exhausted. The policy aligns the agency with federal employment laws, including FMLA and the Americans with Disabilities Act, and provides a consistent framework for managing the extended leave and the extended leave of any employees. By way of background, the Citrus Connections employees, like I said, approximately 257 employees, many of whom serve in safety sensitive positions that require consistent staffing to maintain reliable transit service. Currently, the agency manages extended leave based on a case-by-case basis. Establishing a formal policy will provide consistent and transparent leave administration, ensure compliance with federal employment laws, establish clear expectations for employees and supervisors, protect the agency operations and workforce planning. This policy will use a rolling 12-month measurement period for leave administration. Some of the key components: employees must first exhaust all of their accrued leave and their legally protected leave, which would be the FMLA and things of that nature. Medical leave will be up to 6 months within a rolling 12-month period, inclusive of FMLA and any other protected leaves. Personal leave will be up to 90 days within a rolling 12-month period, subject to management approval. Medical certification and periodic status updates are required for medical leave. Indefinite leave will not be approved. Prior to us bringing this to your attention, there was never anything that was clearly codified in any of our policy manuals relative to leave of absence. Basically, everyone was AWOL. They were AWOL, and we were being asked, well, when's so-and-so coming back? Well, I don't know. And so what this does, this codifies and this covers that there will be no indefinite leave on a date certain at a particular time. We will we'll talk about employment actions with particular employees that can't come back to work for whatever reason. Employees must maintain communication with human resources while on leave. That was one of the things. Employees are obligated when they're out on leave to make sure that they stay in constant communication with the employer to let them know what's going on. That's the only way we know where they're at, what their conditions are, and how we can help. Job restoration is provided where required by law. Adoption of this policy will improve workforce planning and ensure consistent handling of extended leave requests all across the departments. This policy establishes reasonable limits of leave duration while still allowing flexibility for legitimate medical and personal circumstances. There's no financial impact for the adoption of this policy, and it is our recommendation that the board approve the unpaid medical and personal leave policy. I stand for question.
Sure, let's do a motion in a second and then we'll do discussion. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion then we approve.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Questions for Mr. Kirk or comments? I'll say I like, number one, visually, the layout of this looks really good.
Thank
And the bolded areas, just so people can look at it when it's in their policy and procedure manual and grab that information really quick. But it's obviously overdue. So
Yes.
thanks for putting this together. Any other comments or questions on this item? All right, there is a motion and a second. All in favor? The motion carries. We will go to item 7B, which is on page 41 of your packet.
This agenda item is a policy adoption for the criminal history review and automatic disqualification policy. By way of background, public transit agencies operate in a safety-sensitive environment and are responsible for transporting thousands of passengers annually, including seniors, students, individuals with disabilities, and the general public. Employees in many transit positions operate large vehicles, handle public funds, and interact daily with vulnerable populations. Currently, the agency conducts criminal background checks for applicants. However, a formal policy establishes consistent standards for evaluating criminal history and identifying automatic disqualifying offenses has not been codified. Establishing a clear policy ensures that hiring decisions are made consistently, legally, and with public safety as the primary consideration. The proposed policy establishes clear guidelines for evaluating criminal background checks on applicants and employees. The policy identifies specific automatic disqualifying offenses while maintaining compliance with federal EEOC guidance regarding individualized assessments when appropriate. The policy supports the agency's commitment to protecting passengers and employee safety, maintaining the public trust of transit operations, ensuring consistent hiring standards, and reducing liability and risk exposure, aligning with public sector and transit industry best practices. Some of the key components this policy establishes the following: automatic disqualifying offenses. There are just going to be some things that we are not going to hire you for, and it's no pass go, no collect $200. And those are violent offenses such as murder, robbery, aggravated assault, any sex offenses that require someone to be a registered sex offender, crimes against children and vulnerable adults. As you know, we transport vulnerable adults, and we have the COLTS program, which allows us to transport our children free of charge all throughout Polk County. So this policy helps to address that. Any drug trafficking or distribution offenses, weapons and explosive offenses, serious driving felonies for safety sensitive positions, terrorism and infrastructure sabotage offenses. There's going to be a look back period to this particular policy, and the policy includes a defined look back period depending on the offense. It'll either be lifetime, 10 years, or 7-year review. Offenses that don't fall into the automatic disqualifier category will be evaluated through a structured review process that considers the nature and severity of the offense, time elapsed since the conviction, relevance to the job duties, and the evidence of rehabilitation. Standardized background check processes. The policy establishes a clear process, including conditional offers of employment prior to background checks, which is something that we currently do, and HR review and determination procedures, applicant notification and response opportunity, and documentation and record keeping. This applicant notification and response opportunity, essentially when things pop up on people's criminal backgrounds, they may not know, because as a general rule, people don't go and do criminal history checks on themselves, and so they don't know what's on there. And so oftentimes we'll give people an opportunity to explain themselves, and if their explanation is reasonable, you know, we'll consider moving them along in the employment process. Adoption of this policy will provide clear hiring guidance to managers and recruiters, ensure consistent and defensible hiring decisions, strengthen risk management and public safety protection, align agency practices with transit industry standards. There's no fiscal impact. And this is an approval item.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments from Mr. Kirk on this item?
And I'm glad to see that's being addressed.
Seeing none, we will move, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move to agenda item 7C on page 44 of your packet.
So this policy adoption is for lateral transfers between fixed route operators and paratransit operators. On my third day here, I had an employee approach me and said, "Hey, can you look into this issue relative to fixed route operators being able to transfer between fixed route and paratransit?" Our understanding is that we have to resign our position in order to apply for these other positions. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Yeah, thank you. I thought you were getting that. Good looking out, sir.
Anyone else?
Rhonda.
And I'll be honest with you, I said, you know, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said, why would we have an employee who is currently working resign a position to apply for another position that they're not guaranteed to get? And especially if you open up that position to external candidates. And so I looked into it, but before I really did a deep dive, I went and I talked to Paul, because Paul's in charge of operations, and I wanted to get his feel and his flavor and get some historical background and perspective on where this was all coming from. And he kind of gave me some insight and some background. And then I also discussed this item with the union as well, because if the board chooses to adopt this policy, we will have to enter into an MOU with the union regarding this, because we are currently not in a negotiations phase. And so, but I will say that in having conversation with the union, they were very much on board with this, and it just really makes sense. And so we'll just dive into this. The agency currently does not have a formal policy governing lateral transfers between fixed route operators and paratransit operators. As a result, employee movement between these classifications has been handled on a case-by-case basis, creating potential inconsistencies in application, operational challenges, and employee relations concerns. To address this need, staff has developed a formal lateral transfer policy to establish clear eligibility criteria, procedures, and expectations. The purpose of this policy is to provide a consistent and transparent framework for employees seeking to transfer between operator classifications while maintaining operational stability and workforce accountability. Some of the key policy elements: eligibility requirements. Employees must complete their initial probationary period. So an employee that comes on and they've been 30 days on the job and they say, "I don't think I like being a fixed route operator, I want to be a paratransit operator," that's going to be a no-go. They're going to need to at least have completed their 90 days. And then there also needs to be a vacancy involved. Must meet all the qualifications for the receiving position. Must be in good standing. That means no disciplinary actions, no good performance reviews, and the like. Transfer limitations. Employees are eligible for a one-time lateral transfer only. Essentially what that means is that if you don't like it, can't transfer it back. And that was one of the things that Paul had some concerns about is people wanting to bounce back and forth. And that was the reason why there was a thought process out there that, well, if you want to transfer, you're going to have to resign. That eliminates some of those concerns. Transfers are final. Employees are not eligible to transfer back. The selection process: transfers will follow applicable posting and selection procedures consistent with the labor agreements. Training requirements: employees must successfully complete all required training for the new classification. There will be a 30-day probationary period. Transferred employees will serve a 30-day probationary period. in their new role. Performance, safety, and attendance will be evaluated. Probation outcome, successful completion results in permanent placement. Failure to complete probation may result in separation of employment consistent with applicable agreements and policies. So essentially what that means is that if you don't pass probation and we don't have a place to send you back to, then we'll just have some other conversation with you regarding helping your future employment endeavors. Seniority and pay, they'll be governed by the collective bargaining agreement. Again, there's no financial impact here. The policy utilizes existing staffing and training resources and does not create additional budgetary obligations. And again, it just establishes clear internal controls and reduces the risk of inconsistent practices. Implementation will be coordinated with the union and administered in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement. And this is an approval item.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions for Tony on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. Next item, 7D.
Next item is a bereavement leave policy. Mr. Phillips and I, or Tom, as he likes to be called, we had a conversation regarding bereavement leave, and currently the way the bereavement leave policy was set up is that the union receive 5 days and all non-union members receive 3. And so essentially what this policy does is it just codifies that everyone will be treated the same and everyone will receive 5 days. And so that's essentially what this policy enacts. It says the purpose of this is to request approval for the board to adopt a standardized bereavement policy applicable to all employee groups. The policy establishes a consistent approach to providing employees time away from work following the death of a qualifying family member while ensuring operational continuity. Bereavement leave provides employees time to grieve the loss of a family member, attend funeral and memorial services, and manage related personal matters. Establishing a clear agency-wide policy promotes fairness, consistency, and transparency in how bereavement leave is administered. Currently, some employee groups may have provisions addressed through collective bargaining agreements. Adoption of a formal policy ensures a baseline standard for all employees while respecting existing labor agreements. Some of the key policy provisions, the proposed bereavement leave includes the following provision: all eligible employees, including union and non-union staff, it provides up to 5 working days of bereavement leave per occurrence for the death of a qualifying family member. Defines qualifying family members to include immediate relatives such as spouse, child, parent, sibling, grandparents, and in-laws. Allows for supervisors to request reasonable documentation such as obituaries and funeral programs. Permits employees to request additional time off through the use of accrued leave or unpaid leave when necessary. Specifies that collective bargaining agreements take precedent where provisions differ. This policy is consistent with most common employment practices among public agencies and transit systems. The 5-day maximum balances employee support with operational needs and workforce scheduling. Implementation will not require additional staffing or significant financial impact beyond normal payroll costs associated with paid leave. And this is an approval item.
Do we have a motion to approve? A second. And discussion, Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many, or what is the current percentage of employees that we have now are union versus not union?
I think the vast majority of our workforce, sir, would fall under the collective bargaining agreement. I can't give you those exact numbers right now today, but
Majority of the team.
yeah, majority of the team.
Well over 200, the 257.
Okay, so
Right.
it's more than half then.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
over
appreciate it. I
over
was just
half,
asking. I know
and
that
of
Cleveland
that,
Electric is very small. Whereas here it may be very large.
Well, and those are members covered under the collective bargaining
Right.
agreement. The number of dues paying members
Mhm.
is much smaller.
It's small. But it's still within expected bargaining.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
and again, the
Right.
purpose of this policy just provides a uniform standard for all employees across the board, both union and non-union.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. So Tony, I think we're all scrolling through like your information and reading along with you. So
Yes.
you want to just hit high points on the.
Yeah, I can just hit the high points. That way we've got two left. We'll hit the high points on those. You all are scrolling through. So this next policy is causes for immediate termination. There's going to be scenarios that come up where, again, we need to terminate someone immediately without the benefit of giving them the opportunity to resign or retire, because quite frankly, that option really should not exist in certain circumstances. So what this policy does is it just codifies those causes for immediate termination. And, I'll just hit a couple of the high points: workplace violence, theft or fraud, substance abuse, harassment. Some of the impacts will be, it'll enhance safety for the employees, passengers, and the public, strengthens our accountability and our integrity, and it supports compliance. There's no fiscal impact here, except for this does help us to avoid any potential costs through liability and risk exposure and potential litigation. And again, this is an approval item.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. I think it's doing that. On the criminal conduct item impacting job performance or public trust, if somebody's being arrested, like if someone gets arrested for criminal conduct, what happens? Is that what that includes, or?
That would include that, Madam Chair, but to be honest with you, that is yet another policy
Okay,
that will be brought forth, because that's another gap that I've identified in that we have no reporting structure necessarily for when someone runs afoul of the law, off
okay,
to the best of my knowledge. And so in my previous experience with Polk County Public Schools, if you had any contact with law enforcement, you needed to make your supervisor aware within 48 hours
Okay.
after the event. And especially if it involved anything related to child abuse or domestic
Right.
violence.
right,
And so I don't believe that we have anything in our policy that addresses that particular set of circumstances, but there is a reporting requirement, because quite frankly, we may have employees that are running afoul of the law, and we don't know it until we happen to do some random audit, or we run their fingerprints for something, or we run their DL as just a standard check. And so it's just really imperative that if those types of things happen, that there is a reporting requirement for that.
absolutely.
So
Honey, I appreciate you taking a deep dive in all this. This is I know it's for people that aren't HR people, it's like that, but it's legit. Like, we really need the structure and the process and the policy. So thank you for bringing your expertise and for deep diving. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor for this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and then we'll go to the last one.
yes, and this is
This is page 49 going into 50 for us.
This is a recommended approval for a motor vehicle records review policy. Essentially, what this policy is it provides a standardized guideline relative to how we review motor vehicle records. Currently, the proposed policy establishes a standardized criteria for reviewing applicant driving records in a rolling 36-month period. We're looking at automatic disqualifying offenses, DUIs, reckless driving while suspended, major moving violations, and the like. Human Resources will administer this review process, and there'll also be an enhanced review that'll be done by me, the HR director, when some of these things don't fit into the nice little neat criteria that we have established here. It helps us with consistency, strengthens our public safety. It gives a clear guidance on HR and the hiring managers, and it's a part of the best practices. And again, no direct fiscal impact with the adoption of this policy, and we just recommend approval.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm catching up with you. I'm scrolling through. Any questions for Tony on this item?
Well, not as particularly this item, but you just mentioned the due process. If we can get that information, I don't know what the due process is for all of these policies. So if we could probably just get a copy of that and kind of give it, you don't have to present it, but just give us a copy so we can understand what the due process is.
Right, yeah, and Madam,
Mhm.
Board Member, I appreciate your use of the word due process, because a lot of this stuff does come down, and especially when you're talking about discipline and things of that nature, our employees are entitled to due process regardless if they serve under a collective bargaining agreement or not.
Yeah,
And so everyone is innocent until proven otherwise. And so I will certainly lay out, just get you a document that outlines due process.
yeah, thank you. That would be great. I
I'm
think.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you, Martha. Commissioner Tony?
Yeah, I like this one because I kind of had a question on the termination issue when it talked about criminal. And because especially when you look at our drivers and they're driving, so when you separate this part about driving records, because I know some organizations, public pensions, their truck drivers, they get, I think it's 2 speeding, even non-related to work, then, that comes down and they can't drive them anymore. So when you separate this out, when the primary job is driving, you need to make sure that driving record versus whether it's on the job, off the job, is good and clean.
Yeah, even if you drove a Publix car,
Mhm.
because my late husband had a Publix car. Thank, Yeah.
Check my record every 6 months.
Yeah.
Actually had a store manager get suspended.
all right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That
Good
is a
job.
very good job and very
Was.
detailed, which is excellent. All right, Tom.
Madam Mayor, I will be brief. Sun and Fun kicks off the 14th to the 19th of this month. We are excited to launch the inaugural Sun and Fun Express. Look for lots of updates from me to you all on how that is going. Based on what Nicole and Paul talked about today, we will build on a lot of the successes and lessons from Tiger Town Express in the Sun and Fun Express, the partnerships with the police department, the city of Lakeland. Gene and his team have been fantastic to work with. So we are very excited about that service. An update from the city of Lakeland on the Westgate bus benches.
That's.
The concrete contractor is currently in Hillsborough County, pouring pads for that company in Hillsborough. And they will be here at the end of this month or the first week of next month to pour the pads. Once the pads are cured, the permits have already been issued for everything. They'll bolt them in. Hopefully by the next meeting, the bus benches will be there and we'll have photos of that.
I'm giving very good information.
I wanted to just take the opportunity and although he's not here, thank Dr. Ross for the last decade or so. We've been very public at this organization that I've been chasing Joe Tedder on employee engagement and customer service for 15 years, and that won't stop. So we wish Dr. Ross the best in his retirement. He had mentioned Dr. Dabko, who did our workshops with our employees, thanks to Ella. And so Dr. Dabko has said that she would be willing to take over Dr. Ross's tool and administer that, possibly looking at some of the changes, as you had said. So we will work with our procurement team to make sure that that's all done through procurement standards. But hopefully we can work with Dr. Dabko and we'll continue to do that next year. And I would just like to, I know today was a Tony heavy, but I just want to thank you, Tony, because I know you won't take credit for it, but everyone on the senior leadership team, myself included, feels that the reason that everything improved in every area largely was because of your leadership of human resources.
Right.
And the new breath of fresh air that you have brought in. So I want to thank you and your team because I think you deserve a lot of the credit for those results. And then finally, Nicole, myself, and Rhonda will be traveling to the Federal Transit Administration Atlanta home office to meet with Yvette Taylor, the lead administrator for our region. And we will be talking with her on the 23rd about the Lakeland Intermodal Facility as that program continues to move forward. So look forward to meeting with her. It'll be the first time I've ever met her face to face. I've seen her on Zoom. So we look forward to moving the ball forward on that project. And that is the end of my report.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Commissioner Rennie.
One quick question. As far as the advertise, since it came up in the Tigertown Express advertising to get information out about Sun and your drop stops. You coordinate with Larry Little and city's communication where they can really get that information out on the city communication outlets.
Yes, we will make sure I've not yet met Mr. Little, so I'll reach out. We'll make sure that the city has the information, and Gene and his team have been pushing out the information. I believe it was what, Aaron, monthly for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And then starting in January, it was weekly.
Especially for the pilots. And all
So
coming out.
we will make sure that the word is out there. This will be, I think our expectation as a team is this will be very much like the first year of the Tigers where we did the 6 games. Market penetration, soak time, excellent customer service, get the feedback from those early adopters so that when they get back on campus or a citizen rides it instead of driving, that they're telling their family and friends. Because that's what we see with the Tigertown Express is folks recommending it to others. They repeat and then they come back.
Well, and Sun and Fun's unique in that, and Tom and I were able to sit on the selection committee to look at graduate students sort of their project was promoting Citrus Connection at Sun and Fun, the Sun and Fun Express. And so I learned a lot from that process, and that internally to Sun and Fun, their largest audience is the pilots and the people that are coming to camp there. So they have pushed this for a while. And then I sit on the Sun and Fun board, and like their metrics on ticket sales and everything else, that they have a well-oiled machine of pushing that internal info. Now external, that the big challenge is getting people outside of Sun and Fun to do it. But we want to make sure it works first, so that I think that it's not a micro target, that target of pilots, because some of them come and camp under their wings and they don't leave. And one of the ideas is, how do we get them to downtown? How do we get them out off of that campus and return, of course, take them back so they have a place to sleep. But that's a big piece of this initial kickoff and drive with Sun and Fun. So I think we want to promote, but we're also, again, crawl, walk, run, and the crawl aspect of getting people off campus to other spots in Lakeland, back to campus, and then see how we can do that and how it goes, and then really push externally.
What's the actual drop off and how far in will the
So it's called the Hub. And it is on the backside of the airport campus, very near Polk State. It is the only drop-off location for Uber, Lyft, rideshare, food delivery services, and Instacart. Our logo, Sun and Fun Express, is on the map of the hub. Okay. And then there will be political style yard signs placed throughout the campus that point folks to where the Sun and Fun Express is. And then, of course, we'll document and see where people went, how they rode, get that survey data back. I think, Commissioner, the biggest opportunity for next year is already showing itself in really showing downtown. How many people can we get downtown so that next year they're fully taking advantage of that opportunity? Speaking frankly, I think there's a little bit of skepticism or what can we expect? And I understand that.
Yeah.
The Chamber and the LDDA have a lot going on, and they have a lot of things that just execute very well. And it's a kind of a rinse, lather, and repeat. So I want to share that data with them. So next year, hopefully there's more activity once they get off the buses rather than just the normal downtown, but it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Under promise, over deliver.
Yes.
All right. We will adjourn our meeting at 10:24. Thank you so much for being here. Come right now and share.